We are continuing our series working through wisdom literature, specifically the book of Proverbs. And we've come to Proverbs chapter 3. Proverbs chapter 3 is probably one of the most famous pieces of wisdom literature. Text, as far as texts go, that exists, specifically probably one of the most famous passages in Proverbs. Proverbs 3, you have young King Solomon writing to his son, giving him some reasons, some very insightful reasons, why he should be seeking after wisdom. Not just knowledge, not just why he should know things, but actual wisdom bestowed on God, on how we need to live our lives. We're going to read the passage and then we're going to talk about it. Proverbs chapter 3, starting in verse 1. My son, do not forget my teaching, but keep my commands in your heart, for they will prolong your life many years and bring you peace and prosperity. Let love and faithfulness never leave you. Bind them around your neck, write them on the tablet of your heart. Then you will win favor and a good name in the sight of God and man. Trust in the Lord with all your heart, and lean not on your own understanding. In all of your ways submit to him, and he will make your paths straight. Do not be wise in your own eyes. Fear the Lord and shun evil. This will bring health to your body and nourishment to your bones. Honor the Lord with your wealth, with the first fruits of all your crops, and your barns will be filled to overflowing. Your vats will brim over with new wine. My son, do not despise the Lord's discipline, and do not resent his rebuke. Because the Lord disciplines those he loves, as the father that's the son he delights in. So Solomon starts with a reminder to keep the commands of God. Or these commands of Solomon, really. Because if you follow them, if you follow these things that Solomon tells you to do in chapters 1, 2, 3, and so on through the rest of the book of Proverbs, and you seek after them, seek after that wisdom that they provide, it will bestow upon you long life, peace, and prosperity. Solomon goes on to say in very Hebrew language how he talks here to make love and faithfulness the very center of your life. He says to bind them around your neck and write them on the tablet of your heart. Solomon is using some very Hebrew Exodus language here. If you remember in the book of Exodus, God, through Moses, tells the Israelites to write his commands, his law, on their hearts. Write it on pieces of paper and bind the paper to their forehead and their arms to talk about it in their waking and in their sleeping and in their working and in their walking, to continually be reminding themselves of who God is and what his laws are. And Solomon is using very much the same language here when he says to bind them around your neck and write them on the tablet of your heart. It's that same style, that same Exodus language, because in Solomon's eyes, loving God, or knowing how to love and knowing what faithfulness is, faithfulness to God, loving God, are important as the law, to build your life on these things around the law and around love and around faithfulness, because they will bring you favor and a good name with God, but also with your fellow man. Then he tells his son, quite possibly the most important thing in Proverbs, definitely the most important thing in this passage, is this: trust the Lord your God with all of your heart, and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways submit to him, and he will make your paths straight. This is some of the wisest advice Solomon gives his son. It's advice that David knew himself. Solomon's father, David, King David, knew, but had a hard time with. It's advice that Solomon himself knows. And he's going to struggle with this in later life. And it's because it's not easy to lean on, not on your own understanding, but follow God with everything that you are. Follow him, follow his word, follow his will for your life with everything that you have. It's not easy. It's hard for us even today. The culture we live in, we like to think we know better. That we definitely know more than those who came before us. That we are surely smarter than these ancient people. And that sometimes we may not say it like this, but our actions, the way we treat things, we make it seem like we know more than God himself. How often do we hear people make the claims that, well, God forbids this or God forbids that? And how could God, in all of his knowledge, forbid such things because those things are good? Or I personally enjoy those things, so they must be good, even though God says not to do those things or live those certain ways. Obviously, God's wrong because those things are fun. I know what's best for my life. I know that while those things may have different side effects, may have issues, may have problems, may lead to trouble down the road, right now they're fun and I enjoy them. So why would God tell me not to do them? When we do those things, we're leaning on our own understanding, our own knowledge, and not on God. We treat God like he doesn't understand, or his ideas are antiquated or out of date with the culture that we live in. But the truth of the matter is that you and I are just like any other created thing. We were created with a purpose. We were created for a specific reason. Our Creator made us with a certain design, a certain function in mind. And we don't know better than our Creator. God created not only us, but everything in this universe. He created everything with a purpose. And what we're doing when we say we know more than God is acting outside the purpose that he created us for. Just because we think something is fun or it brings us pleasure in any given moment, it may still be something we are not created to do, and therefore we shouldn't do it because it'll have some sort of consequences. Just like Solomon is saying to his son, we need to trust God, trust the creator of everything to know how his created beings are supposed to live. Trust in him with all of your heart. Lean not on your own understanding. Because sometimes our own understanding is faulty. Just a few hundred years ago, we were jailing people and calling people liars and throwing them in prisons because they said the world was round, or they said that the earth is not the center of the universe. We understood something different than those things. And so if something was not one of those things, we were throwing people in jail. Our understanding is based on our limited view of history, of science, of the world. Whereas God, he knows it all. He created it all. His understanding, his way of living, his way of us living is best. Why? Because he knows everything. He knows it all. He understands it all. And so what Solomon is saying in this passage is that we humans are finite. Our understanding is limited. Therefore, trust in God with everything that you have. Don't lean on your understanding, but in all of your ways acknowledge him, because only then will your paths be straight. Only then will you be doing the things that you are designed to do. Follow God with everything that you are, because that is how you find true wisdom. Have a great rest of the week.